Hey everyone, just a quick updates from the care team. We're still making strides towards our UI UX evolution. What that looks like most recently is working on the bulk select and delete functionality. So that's on the reports tab. It's kind of hidden, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, so I've included a screenshot of what the current flow looks like. And again, what we're trying to do is remove things from the bottom bar so that we're separating positive actions like adding a new report and things like, bulk select and delete in this case. So how it currently works on the report tab is that there's this little check icon that you would press on, and it brings up the bulk select interface that shows the checkboxes on the side, and you can select all because the bottom bar also changes to see the different icons, the select all, the deselect, and the delete. So that is how it currently works. And this is the update. So we're displaying all of the checkboxes on the left side. It aligns more closely to material design standards. The functionality happens above the bar. You can see you can tap on any of the squares. And then the top yellow bar is where the change happens, where you can select all, exit out of this, or delete. So it aligns more closely to more popular apps that we know our users have seen, like WhatsApp. And the labels are a little bit more clear. And so our next steps are to continue to simplify that bottom bar. So as you can see here, we only have that submit report button left. And in the next iterations, we're going to be working on condensing that into our floating action button. And that's it for me. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Nicole. I think we can cover the allies team updates. Then we'll get a few questions from the community members. So for this update, Ashley shared a video of the CHT Docker helper, which should help developers easily install the CHT version 4.0 on their local machine.
It allows you to quickly start up a CHT instance locally without a lot of effort. So let's go and look at what this looks like when you go and run it. So I have downloaded this bash script, and the bash script is called CHT Docker Compose. This is in the 4.0 directory. Right now I'm working in a branch, which is available on GitHub, but we're hoping to merge it to master soon. Just to note, on the right, you see that I'm running a Docker status utility called Lazy Docker. And what this shows is there's no containers, no images, no volumes running, and there's an old project that we're going to reuse now. So the way the script works is it prompts you, there's no existing projects. Would you like to start a new one? We'll choose yes. And then it prompts you for the name of the project. In this case, I'll say 4.0 first. 4.0 first. And then it says, which would you like to run? We'll run the one that we just created. So when the script does this, it's going to start downloading everything that's needed. In this case, it needs to download the image for the upgrade service. Upgrade service is an external container that orchestrates upgrades within the core services and CouchDB services. So now that it has downloaded that image and started it, it's now, you can see, starting to download the other images for core, as well as trying to start them. So on the right over here, we can see some images coming in. There's the HA proxy one that's been downloaded, the HA proxy health check, and the upgrade service, which we downloaded already. So the point of having this script start from scratch is to show you that if you have no experience with Docker, if you don't have anything downloaded, this script will cover all the things that you need to do, including downloading all the images, creating all the local volumes. You can see there's 2 volumes here. And just now you can see that it's put all the containers online. And now it's told me that the instance is available and given me a login and password. We can go ahead and pull up a browser here. And when we go to this instance, we have a valid certificate. which is a Let's Encrypt certificate, which means just like with the prior CHT Docker helper, this certificate will allow you to test locally with real actual Android devices, which is extremely helpful. And as well, you won't get any certificate errors when you first load it in a browser. So it told me that the login and password was medic and password. So now when I go ahead and use that, it's going to drop me in as an administrator, because that's what I logged in as. And if we go and look at the version that I'm running, you can see that I'm running 4.0. So that's the CHT Docker helper. It is publicly available still in a branch. We are putting the finishing touches on that, and we're hoping to have a final version out, I would say in days, not weeks. But we very much welcome any feedback or any concerns that folks have. And there's going to be another video coming up soon about documentation. So the virtual Ashley will be seeing you soon. Bye.
Thanks, Ashley, in your absentia. There is a question from one of the community members. I think it's Abdul, and he's asking, is the demo working on 4.0 and previous version, or only on 4.0? Mukhtar, would you like to take that?
Yes, maybe I can take this one. Can you hear me correctly?
Yes,
Okay,
go ahead.
nice. And thanks for the question. So this CHT Docker helper tool is supposed to replace the old version. So the old version is only working with 3.x versions of the CHT, and this one is supposed to replace it and take the lead for CHT 4.0 plus. So this is only supposed to work with 4.0. For the previous versions, you can fall back to the old script. And yeah, thanks.
All right, thanks, Mukhtar. Thank you. Any question related to what Nicole presented and also the CHT Docker helper presentation? All right, we can move to this.
Anthony.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, like most of us had not been in the previous calls, and I've just seen the presentation Ashley presented, but we didn't get the context behind it or the background, or we didn't, we did not get the right orientation. So I know that from the back side, we may not know so much what it was all about. But of course, we saw what he presented, and yeah, we have a clue about what he was doing, but we don't know where it came from.
Mukhtar, could you take a minute just to share the context for that, if you would mind?
Yeah, of course, and thanks for the question, Emmanuel. And to share more about the context behind this script, the idea is to simplify app developers' life when they want to test new configs locally, and like, for example, they don't need to know, like, or to understand how Docker works to bring up the new CHT architecture locally. The idea is really to simplify app developers' iterations. Like they only want to make the config work, and they want to test it locally, like they would do with the deployment. And with the script, they will be able to do this and test multiple configurations at the same time without like over how to say this, like without having configurations overriding other ones. Like, is that clear?
Yeah, for me as a person, I might get it because I actually did some capacity building on this, but yeah, I just wanted like to make sure we're on the same page with everyone who has joined in, because today we have more visitors who could have joined in. Thank you. But it was okay
Definitely,
to me.
thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
And if anyone has any other question about it, let me know like in the chat or on Slack or by email.
Correct. And I've shared there the link for the forum post for CHT Docker Helper. Please feel free to share any questions or comments on that. So I think I'll move to the next session, which is CHT core updates. And I will invite Diana to take us through the version 4.0 release. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Diana, and I'm the principal software developer at Medic. I kind of feel like Santa today, an early November Santa, for bringing you all these awesome gifts. I'm really happy that everybody is receiving 4.0 with such enthusiasm. So I am very eager to walk you through some of the technical details. I apologize if I will get overly technical. I am also very excited to announce this. So first up, architecture. As you probably saw a glimpse of in Ashley's presentation, we are now actually using Docker Compose as a default orchestration tool. We are publishing Docker images in the Amazon public ECR for every microservice that the CHT requires. And we will publish these images for every release that we do. This means that launching a CHT application will simply involve a Docker Compose app and pointing to the correct Docker Compose files, which we all also publish and provide as part of our release process. This architecture change brings a lot of benefits. One of them is no longer using MedicOS. So right now we are using supported, documented orchestration and deployment tools, which are Docker and Docker Compose. We are also internally discussing about officially supporting other orchestration tools like Kubernetes, but this is a separate discussion and will probably come in later. The two things that I mentioned before, dropping MedicOS and using Docker Compose and Docker, bring a lot more transparency in how the CHT is deployed and enables us to have the support of the massive Docker community, having lots of tutorials, lots of courses to follow, and this eases onboarding and capacity building by a gazillion. I just muted myself. This also helps us being supported versions of the support software that's used, for example, the latest version of Node and the latest version of CouchDB, for example. We have not upgraded the version of CouchDB in 4.0 just to not introduce another point of failure, but we are planning on upgrading CouchDB to the latest 3.2 in a very, very near future release. So keeping with software which is up to date and supported means that there's improved performance. It means that there's improved security, and it also means that we can get support from all of the teams that are maintaining these software projects that we use every day. Okay, next up is I want to talk a little about horizontal scaling. So our performance and scalability testing have revealed that the main bottleneck is CouchDB CPU resources. And we identified that adding additional nodes, so enabling CHT to work over a CouchDB cluster instead of a single node will enable us to have more horizontal scalability just out of the box. With the 4.0 release and using microservices and using orchestrators, and we also updated the services to help the CHT also health check a cluster. So there are more features that have been baked in the CHT in order to make it work with the cluster. But right now, working with the cluster is out of the box. And we will also provide documentation. We also have a Docker Compose for a cluster setup of CouchDB with 3 nodes that we will happily guide self-hosted partners into deploying. But that's the main benefit of scaling CouchDB. It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to go to 3 nodes like our default Docker Compose file indicates. We added out of the box, the CHT will support up to 12 nodes, but this is up to every partner. Distributing these nodes is up to every partner. And we will come back with documentation about how clustering will work, and obviously provide support to everybody who wants to go on an adventure with clustering. Other improvements that are also breaking changes are the Inketo update. We're bumping the Inketo dependency that is used to process and display forms to a newer version. This is a breaking change because there are some functionalities that have been altered. There are also a lot of performance improvements and bug fixes in the new version of Inketo. So we are advising people to test their configuration prior to upgrade, but this is more information on that later. Another breaking change that I want to mention is that we have released an Android 1.0, which is required for 4.0. From going forward, we want to be up to date with the browser versions that the CHT uses. And with the CHT Android 1.0, we ensure that we are on the last version that the device supports. So there is going to be more information about this in the release notes, which we will share. The release notes are already published, so I can share the link in the chat if anybody wants to follow along. We have also added more improvements like an API startup page. This is a long-standing project for the CHT, but with 4.0, we actually added more steps to API startup, including installation and warming views. So this page became a necessity more than a nice to have. This means that before the API can start its normal operations uptime, it will actually display a landing page for every request that comes in that will inform users on the fact that API is starting up, which steps are required for the API startup, and where in the process of the startup we are currently. And this page is updated live. So if a user logs in or tries to log in, they will see this page, or an administrator can also check the page to check up on API startup progress. And the page will refresh itself and display the normal logging page or whatever requested CHT application page once the API starts up. Another big improvement that I want to touch on here is that we have dropped XML report attachments. These XML report attachments were present for every submitted report by CHW, and they were only required when editing these reports. With 4.0, we are no longer storing XML report attachments for new reports and also for edited reports. So if you edit a report in 4.0, even if it was an old report with an attachment, the attachment will be deleted and the report metadata will be enriched. So we maintain backwards functionality and we can still edit these reports in full, but we no longer need the XML attachment, which was adding a lot of weight in the replication mechanism. So new projects will benefit from this directly. Old projects will start benefiting from it in time once the old reports that have attachments will get purged or deleted, or new CHTs on board and they use fresh data and so on. Okay, so with Inketo, there are some breaking changes. This requires app developers to test new projects and future upgrades in a 4.x branch. We also have backported the 3.x. We also backported the Inketo changes to a 3.x branch. This was before we released, and because at that point 4.0 was still in alpha, but now I think we would advise everybody to just start a 4.0 branch and test their forms directly on a 4.0 branch. Please reach out in the forum if you find any issues. CHT Conf has been enriched with a bunch of validations to help this transition, but it might not cover everything. So please feel free to reach out to the forum. On upgrading will involve some manual steps. We are in the process of documenting these steps and also building some software that would help assist. We are expecting to have some documentation about this available coming week, but until then, please reach out on the forum in case you need help. And also for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Diana, for those detailed technical requirements for version 4.0. Before we go to Yedanafe app, do we have any question to Diana in regards to the version 4.0?
I had the question. I just want to be sure I understood that correctly. If you say CHT Android 1.0 required, do you mean the wrapper?
That's correct.
All right.
The application that's installed on the physical device.
All right. So the ARC version 3, I get this is the new version of the CHT pipeline.
So
is this a modification on the CHT pipeline?
I'm not sure what you mean by CHT pipeline.
A little bit different. So I think what you're describing is the like couch to PG replacement and the way that we process data. But what Diana's talking about is like CHT core and system architecture. So separate system components entirely. And as far as like the Android wrapper goes, that's like the app on the phone that we're changing that like hosts the CHT functionality itself, like on the client. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does.
All right. Thanks, Craig, Emmanuel, and Diana. Because of time, we can head to the last session of this call. And this is also some exciting news. So I will invite Fanny from PIH to share this news. Welcome, Fanny.
Thanks, Anthony. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm Fanny from PIH, Malawi. We've worked collaboratively with MedicMobile since 2018. I think that's when we're studying the designing of the Ndanafe app, which is used by our community health workers. And these health workers that are located in households, so they do actual home visits, patient follow-ups with any issues that require them to link them to care, and also if they're not in a treatment condition, for them to actually follow them up from the community. So within our CHT program, we and the use of Ndanafe as well, we're supporting use of workflows in non-communicable diseases, TB, HIV, postnatal and antenatal care. Yeah, IMCI is also there. So like everything that the CHT support in the community is all embedded in the application. We started with 228 CHTs back then in 2019. And up to date, we have like 629 CHTs that are using the application, which basically covers 50% of the catchment areas in our district. So yeah, at the moment, we've made this huge progress, I'd say, with MedicMobile. And there's a decision to actually leave the code for the Ndanafe app open to the CHT community, where other partners can actually tap into the knowledge that we've gained to use it. And also it's a way for us to actually learn from the CHT community in terms of if people would have any suggestions on how we can improve it. So yeah, basically, I think that's that.
Right. Thanks, Fanny. Not sure if Philip or Elijah is on the call to share any additional updates. Elijah, I can see you on the call in regards to Yedenafire open sourcing.
Yeah, this has been a great milestone to achieve together with PIH. And in case anyone wants to check out the source code for the application, I've pasted a link in the chat box. Please go ahead. And even if you want to contribute to the application, you're also very welcome. Thank you.